What's for dinner? Hey everyone, I'm Chef Z and welcome back to my channel, Chef Z Cooks. Today we're going to be making crab cakes and I'm so excited to be sharing today's recipe because number one, it is a Chef Z classic, and number two, I absolutely love crab cakes. Like every time I go out for dinner and I see crab cakes on the menu, I have to get it because I simply cannot resist the goodness. Now hang tight until the very end of today's video because I'm going to be going in a little bit more depth on the differences of crab meat that you can use to make crab cakes, because guess what? Not all crab meat is created equally. Let's go ahead and get started. Making crab cakes is fairly easy. You just want to make sure to use some really fresh ingredients just to make sure that your crab cakes come out super tasty. So first things first, over a medium-low flame, we're actually going to melt some unsalted butter in a small skillet. And you want to make sure that that melted butter covers that small skillet completely, so you may have to swoosh it around just like I did here. We're now going to add some diced shallots, celery, scallions, garlic, and we're also going to add some salt and pepper. Keep in mind that I am using some pink Himalayan salt, but you can use whatever kind of salt that you want. We're going to saute this for a few minutes until our sauteed onions and celery become super nice and soft and translucent. You want to make sure not to burn the onions and the celery, because then that flavor is going to transfer over into the crab cakes, and it's definitely something that we don't want. So once they've become nice and soft, we're just going to take that off and set that to the side. We're now going to combine together 1 egg, some mayonnaise, some Dijon mustard, and we're going to mix it together until it's well combined. And to be honest guys, this is the number one mistake I see people make whenever they are making some crab cakes. They just dump the egg straight into the crab meat and they don't mix it in together with the mayonnaise, almost like you're making a salad dressing. Next, we're going to take just 1/2 of a sour orange and we're going to squeeze it into our slurry mixture, making sure to catch all the pits in the process. If you don't have any sour oranges out by you, don't worry, because you can definitely use either some fresh lemons or some fresh lime and it'll still come out just as tasty. We're going to add some cayenne pepper for a little bit of heat, and we're going to add some more salt and some more pepper. And again, feel free to use whatever type of salt that you want. Just make sure to add little bits at a time just to make sure that your crab cakes don't come out salty. We're going to mix that until it's well combined, and afterwards we're going to go ahead and we're going to add our sauteed onions and celery, which by now have had a chance to cool down. We're also going to add some fresh thyme and some fresh cilantro, and we're going to mix that all together until it's well combined as well. Now, because we are using a really good quality crab meat, all of the flavors that we're going to add into it are actually going to add a beautiful freshness to it. So once we've mixed in our slurry, we're actually going to now add it to our crab meat. And like I mentioned earlier, I am using lump crab meat, which, yes, while it is fairly expensive, it has beautiful flavor. So it's going to be slightly sweet, and you're going to notice that the chunks are fairly big. So when we're mixing in our slurry into our crab meat, we want to be fairly gentle because we want to keep those lumps intact as much as possible. We're now going to add the Panko Breadcrumbs, and I recommend using Panko Breadcrumbs just because they have a little bit of a bite, and when mixing in the breadcrumbs, we're going to be just as gentle as we were before. Now keep in mind that you can add some more breadcrumbs if you like, but I don't like to make my crab cakes with too much filler. We're now going to form the crab cakes, and this is where you get to have a little bit of fun. You can make the crab cakes as big or as little as you want. The decision is totally up to you. I like to keep them a little bit on the medium side simply because I usually make a few at a time, and I usually have them a little bit as an appetizer or I have them with a salad. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to form our crab cakes, but most importantly, once you have formed all of your crab cakes, you want to place them in the refrigerator for at least an hour or even overnight, but just make sure to cover it a little bit with some saran wrap. And I do this because once it's time to cook them, the crab cakes will actually keep their shape.
Later that same evening.
So once the crab cakes are chilled, we're actually going to set the flame to medium setting, and we're going to add some olive oil, and we're also going to add a little bit of some unsalted butter. Now the oil and the butter are going to combine together, and they're going to add to the flavor of our crab cakes. Now it's totally up to you. You can fry up your crab cakes only using oil or only using butter, but I think the combination of the two is really good. And again, we are cooking our crab cakes over some medium heat, so very carefully we want to place our crab cakes into the oil. And you're going to see right away that because we've chilled our crab cakes, they're going to hold their shape a lot better than if we were to just cook them right away. So after about 3 minutes, we're going to go ahead and flip our crab cakes over, and you're going to see that they have cooked to this beautiful light brown color. And I love when my crab cakes have a nice crispy exterior and soft juicy interior. You can definitely eyeball this, but this took me about 3 minutes on each side. And afterwards, we're going to very gently take our crab cakes, and we're going to enjoy them either with some fresh lime or your favorite aioli. So there you guys have it, my recipe for some crab cakes. If you have any questions, visit my website or comment down below. And until next time, I'm Chef Z y buen provecho. Alright guys, here are some quick tips on making crab cakes, but in specific, quick tips on selecting the right crab meat for your crab cakes. Now, first things first, I will say that in theory, you can make your crab cakes using whatever kind of crab meat. However, you are going to get different results. So there are varying degrees of crab meat because it all comes down to which part of the crab did the crab meat come from. Now, in today's video, you'll notice that I specifically use lump crab cakes. Now, when it comes to lump crab meat, there's jumbo lump and there's lump. And all that means is that that came from the upper top body of the crab. So think of it as some white meat. Now, when you go to the store and you're looking for crab meat, you're also going to notice that there is claw meat, and it sounds exactly as it's labeled. It came from the claws. Now, when it comes to claw meat, that's also in essence kind of the dark meat. So you have the lump meat, which is the white meat, and it's going to be in these beautiful chunks. And then you have the claw meat, which is a little bit smaller and has almost like a beigey, orangey color to it. Now, both of the different types of crab meat are delicious. And when it comes to crab cakes, like I said before, technically, in theory, you can use either or. I say, and I recommend using the lump crab meat because you're going to get a beautiful crab cake and it's going to have a little bit of drama. It's going to look like a restaurant quality crab cake.
I make this look good.
And the meat is actually a lot more subtle, a lot more delicate, and it's going to have a subtle sweetness to it that we absolutely love whenever we're making crab cakes.
Get in my belly!
Now, the claw meat, while yes, technically you can use it in a crab cake, I actually prefer to use it in some stews because it also has some really yummy flavor. Remember, if we're kind of comparing it to dark meat, like in chicken, the thighs are usually more flavorful than the breast. So the same is true with the claw meat. It's gonna have this beautiful flavor, but that's precisely why it goes amazing in some stews or stocks. Now, you can also combine the two. I know some people do combine crab cakes with the lump meat and the claw meat, and a lot of times they do that for cost reasons. I'll let you guys know right now, there is a huge difference in cost. Lump meat is far more expensive than the claw meat, but that's also why whenever we're making crab cakes, it's more of an appetizer and kind of a special event type of dish. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click that bell so that you're notified each and every single week whenever I post an all new video. And speaking of videos, I have so many yummy recipes here on my channel and you can check them out right here.